Hey,
Hello.
hey, everybody. How's everybody doing? How are you doing, Robert?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Zac and Robert?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
I'm gonna call
So
you
this is
Zac.
our so this is episode 2 of Husbandry Pro What's Next. And this week we're going to talk about Daytona recap and some of the wins there and things we've taken away from that. And then the help section, how-to section will be on the Animal Workspace. So if you're just here for that part and you're watching this back later, you can fast forward to the workspace part. We'll have the screen up then so you know. But we'll kick it off with the Daytona talk, and then when we're done, we'll get to some questions and answers from everybody.
And feel free to shoot out questions during.
Yes, yes, I will mark them and save them for when we get to it. Don't think that I'm ignoring you. I'm just saving them for whenever we get a break.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah. So Daytona.
Yeah, good time.
Man,
Hot,
great time at Daytona.
sweaty.
So hot, so humid. And I'm from Texas, like 110 degrees here, and I'm like, this is miserable. And I went to Daytona where it was like 95, and it was way worse.
Yep. Yeah, I went out after on our way out, and I saw Chad from Row Labs. I put my arm around him. My arm slid off him because he was just all wet everywhere. And yeah, that's how everybody was. It was a wet, sticky mess, but it was a good time. Met a lot of fantastic people. Got a lot of feedback. For me, when we go to these things, it's really I didn't go to any last year, right? Yeah, I think I took last year off for running around. Yeah.
No, you didn't go to any last year. And we didn't make Daytona last year. We did Daytona the year before that, and we took the year off from Daytona last year.
Yeah. So, and I start to realize that how important it is for me to sit on the floor and actually talk to some people and show people. And the sheer number of people that haven't seen Next was kind of eye-opening too. So we've got to get better there on talking about Next and letting everybody know about that. So
yeah, I was thoroughly surprised how many users were just like, oh, what's this? Oh, I haven't seen this. And and they're like, oh, I was just logged in yesterday. And it's like, and you see it when you log in. It's like it's right there. It asks you when you go to the login screen. So I think it's maybe we're waiting on people to hit that 30-day logout window where they have to log back in to see it.
Yeah, and exactly. Like I don't think necessarily they're going in through the same gateway. Like a lot of people that use the app, they don't even see those pages too, right? So we'll get there. And the other thing is, I still consider us a little bit in pre-release. It's kind of the way we did the classic software, and we bring it out to the community, and the community says, you know what, that's a little funky. Can we adjust that and things like that? So pre-release is still going to happen probably throughout the end of the year, and then the beginning of next year will be just Husbandry Pro Next, and then we'll start asking people to move over. But I think that we're about 25% or 30% of old users are on Next now, and 70% are still on Classic. So it's good though. A lot of people are still using both platforms, and again, we're going to continue to develop Classic as soon as I get a little time to get back to the drawing board on some things there and some feedback we've got. So we'll get that done. But Daytona,
yeah, it was so much good feedback in Daytona. And everyone who did see Next, who hadn't seen it, previous users were liking it, and a lot of users who tried Husbandry Pro before were checking out Next, and they're like, man, dude, I like this. I like the flow of it. This is more modern. I'm gonna check this out again.
And it's completely different, right? Like and we also understand that it's hard to make that jump too, right? From Classic to Next, because even though everything's there, it's completely different, right? Completely different animal. But I think,
it's almost easier if you didn't use Classic when you come over to Next, because I have to retrain myself, because I'm like, I'm used to it being right there. And it might be right there on the page, like even labeled. Right. And I have just looked for it, and I'm like, why don't I see this? And it's like, it's right there. Like I'm just used to it being right there.
Exactly. And that's just change, right?
Yes.
So I think for me, the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway from Daytona was actually kind of the direction that I see Next going, and talking to some bird people. And understanding where the U.S. government is going with bird stuff. They're going, the USDA has new rules and regulations for sales of birds, and and things like that. And everybody I talked to in the reptile industry, after learning what I learned about birds and the USDA and sales and things like that, the licensing that's required and the documentation that's required, everybody I spoke to in the reptile industry said, you know what, that's probably coming, right? And I think what I learned from the bird people there, and we've already applied most of it. It's the new system has full USDA compliance, AWA paperwork, everything else for birds. That is now in place for reptiles with different wording, and it's kind of the same thing. So we will be ready for that as soon as all that compliance and everything comes. And it's just good practice too, right? To get in early and start using all that stuff.
Well, and one thing I was, specifically, one thing that I really got a good takeaway from was I sat there for an hour talking to FWC about that stuff and, like what they look for and requirements. And I realized how lucky I am to live in Texas, somewhere where it's so unregulated. And I start thinking about, like talking to people overseas and stuff where it's more regulated. And then we have our Australian users where it's even more regulated. And I realize, I take it for granted and don't even think about all this documentation and the being able to keep up with this stuff. And I don't track it because I don't have to, but there's a metric ton of people in whole countries that have to track all these minute details, ID numbers, down to eggs that are discarded, babies that don't make it, every single cell, who you sold it to. And unfortunately, great. Thankfully, we've got USARC fighting for our rights, trying to keep that limited. But, it's a losing battle. Countries and states and different places are regularly adding more and more restrictions, more and more regulations and requirements for recording data and giving them that data. And, my biggest favorite takeaway, I tried to get her to go on record, but, she was like, when I see something like that, a record system, and I see Husbandry Pro, it's like, oh, I know these people are keeping up with their stuff. It's just a quick glance and go. When I see notes and, hodgepodge wrote together and spreadsheets, I'm going, they're going to go over it meticulously and look at every little thing because it's not uniform. It's not easy to understand. So instead of just glancing at real quick and be like, good to go, now you're getting scrutinized.
Yep. And for sure. And you know what? And yeah, I want everybody to use Husbandry Pro for sure, but any type of proper record keeping, it's so important. And even if it's not required today, to have that information for later will be invaluable. So start early, make sure you get everything in and away you go. But the other thing we got from Daytona is just learning how people use it. What they like, what they don't like, and it's super eye-opening. So I think a lot of the things that we already brought back from Daytona are in the pipeline to come out already, right? We've already done, we've got the couple of guys working on a couple of different smaller things right now, and those will be implemented, pretty much seamlessly as we go along. And, it's kind of my fault for not updating the change log as much as I should, but every day there's 5 to 8 to 10 items that are changed or updated or moved around or something like that. So it's always a good idea to watch that change log and see what we're doing on a daily basis.
Well, and something that I clocked real big there was getting that information into our users' hands, stuff like the change log and stuff. It's like we have it and it's there, but it doesn't do us any good if our users don't know there's a change log or they're never directed to it, And so that's one of the biggest things I took away this weekend was I didn't know we had this. I didn't know we had that. And it's like, okay, so that's, a little on my side, with like, we need to do better about our transparency and pushing the information out there to our users. And, instead of assuming that they just see whenever they come online, the new stuff that we did, we got to start, kind of drawing more attention to it. And that was a big takeaway because everybody was wowed. So many people were wowed by all these features I was showing them and stuff that I figured everybody'd seen Next by now. Like that was the biggest surprise. My biggest surprise from Husbandry Pro all weekend was like, I thought if you use Husbandry Pro, you've seen Next. Right. Maybe you're not using it or something, but you've seen it. And it's like, no, that was not the case.
Exactly. Okay. So that was Daytona. You want to move on to running through, we're doing Animal Workspace today, right?
Yeah, Animal Workspace. I just almost on the Daytona. What was your biggest takeaway from Daytona? Like an idea that somebody gave at Daytona that you hadn't thought of that, you know, we might be looking into? Like, was there any like good ideas that came from it that weren't like already in the works?
Yeah, I think the two
that we
things
can
were
share.
There were two big things for me, and the one was the compliance for the USDA on avian, on birds, and how it applies to all animals. And in that process, we actually I spoke to Michelle something House, I'm not sure, geckos. I don't remember the business name, but she had a specific need for making sure lineage was on the animal detail page, right? And she wanted to add care guide to the animal detail page. So now when you buy an animal, instead of just firing off, you know, that one pager that we made, she wanted the ability to have something a little more robust. So we will be releasing, and I know we didn't really want to touch on that just yet, but we will be releasing a full document workspace, document designer workspace that does allow all of that to happen, where you can add care guides, you can add lineage, you can really build every document that we produce currently, you can build in a custom fashion. And then you can replace the print dialogue with that custom document instead. Right. So I actually handed that off to Michelle today to see if she can make her document to make sure it worked okay. And that's kind of the process we go, right? We build something and then we give it into one or two people's hands and see how they do with it and go from there. So
I'll give a little shout out there. That's Herp House. That's one of our sponsors. It's Michelle Hunger, Ken and Michelle Hunger.
There you go. So it's, I think that was probably one of the big things that we worked on since we've been back. The avian stuff is there, and the other big thing I think was the AI and APIs. So both of those things, everybody talks about API now, or AI now, and how we implement it. And we're not just going to implement AI for the sake of implementing AI. I don't think that's a reasonable thing to do. There are also costs associated with adding AI, but we need to add AI intelligently to it. Some of the things we're working on is kind of hey, this is what your day looks like, with an AI engine that basically, you know, goes through everything in your system and kind of gives you today, this is what it looks like. So we've got that in the works right now as far as AI is concerned. We'll get some builder help with some documents and things like that. And then the other thing that people wanted was API connection, because as people get more fluent with being able to build things, well, they want to be able to build against something, right? And we're not at the point realistically where people can build something and then they have this robust system that does everything that they need. The time it takes, and just to make sure that the data is accurate and the data is safe and everything else, just really does take a long time. So we're allowing people now to build against our API. So we're releasing a full API on Next. It is released now, that you can start building your sensors against it. You can start, you know, reading animals. You can start pushing data to your animals, depending on how far you want to go, how far into the hole you want to go in that one. You can start using everything that we offer outside of it, and then still viewing it in the presentation that we give you, and all your data is safe and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and I think that's a big one, because I know we've had the API for Classic for some of our API users, if you're watching. But I believe in Next, the API is more robust, right? Now they can pull a lot more data and a lot more things than we used to. Because I remember we had a lot of requests in the Classic system, and it's like, just wait, you know, we're going to have all that in the API for Next. And so I was pretty sure that was correct.
Correct. Yeah. So the old system is basically kind of a bit of a read. That's about it, right? With the API, so you can get your data out. But now we've allowed, you know, because as we were adding things like the GoV sensors and that to the new system that wasn't in Classic, we realized that most manufacturers of these sensors and other things like that are building their own APIs, or somewhere along that lines. So we're allowing that all to happen right out of the gate, right? So and I think because we also have an MCP coming out So you can just, program your Claude or your Chat GPT to talk to the MCP. It'll be gated to your account, and then you can just start pulling information out through your MCP. And really, somebody who's a little bit tech savvy would be able to say, who do I have to feed today? And it can give you a list of who you have to feed today using any type of chatbot or anything like that, as long as you're doing it properly. Yeah, so you can pretty much, people want to store the information, they want to use the information. We're just trying to make it easier for everybody to do it. So how you do it, whether it's in the platform or outside with a chatbot, those things are both going to be available going forward. So it's really learning. In Daytona, we learned how people want to use it, how they are using it, what they kind of see for the future, because we don't want to be left by the wayside.
That's right. And that's what you get here at Husbandry Pro. If I can throw out the shameless plug, we're here, we're in the community, we're listening, and we're making the changes, and that's what you don't get at the other places. They throw out what they want and you like it and play with it, or you come over here to Husbandry Pro.
Yeah, I think any type of distinction would be, we are a platform that is building for the future, right? Really, we are not limited and gating ourselves to the reptile industry either, which is huge benefit to the reptile industry to learn from others. We are going into zoos and things like that. So everything that we're going to be doing on Husbandry Pro Next, even outside of the reptile industry, is a benefit to the reptile industry. For sure.
Well, that was Daytona. Daytona was good. It was very nice. I know we've got some people who are waiting to see what we're going to talk about today and dive into. We're going to dive into the Animal Workspace next. Go ahead and pop our screen up. And so that's what we're going to do is we're going to go over the Animal Workspace, ways to use it, and, just take some questions and answers on that whenever we get done with that section. Robert's going to lead us through.
Yeah, what looks better on the screen, light or dark mode?
I'm always going to say dark mode.
Does it look better for video? Yeah, maybe it does. Okay, so we'll do it in dark mode today. Just basically an overview, and a lot of our workspaces kind of work the same way with the main bar across the top of the page. So these are all the panels that would come up, and each of our workspaces also is similar in the fact that you are on the workspace page and then panels come up. And what that accomplished for us, instead of, with Next, if I click on an animal in Next to view it, normally what would happen in Classic is you would leave that page and you would go somewhere else. And then from here, you would go to another page if you're doing something else. But with Next, everything is coming up over this view. So if you are slid down to this point here and you look at this animal, it is going to just slide up. When you close this, you are back to where you were before. And that was super important with the architecture of the system, to be able to do that, because we did find people would go far down, the road and then not be sure how to get back, or it was frustrating to get back. Now it's super easy to do so. So that's
the big one is like when you're going through and you're doing like an update to a bunch of stuff, right, and you've got the lists filtered just how you want it. And it's like, I got to go in here and select these 7 different things that I've dialed into. And you want to go back and do that 17 times. And it's like, you got to refilter. Like, this stops all that headache.
Exactly. Okay. So we'll start with basically the animal view, because that is kind of the meat and potatoes of this. And we have a few different animal views. And this is the view that I think most people are using. And it's most similar to how we had it in Classic also. And we call this the data view. And the data view is simply these lines that have multiple cells, and you can slide it back and forth. So if you have, all the columns active, you can slide it back and forth and see the data. You can also reorder any of that data. And the way you would do that is you would go up here and you would go to the columns button. And these are how you turn on the different columns, and you can slide them around. So you can reorder them any way you want. And we do have we do have 2 settings too, if you want a different setting in mobile as you do in desktop.
That is so nice.
Yeah, because some people aren't going to always want all these columns if they've logged in on the mobile device. So you can go ahead and change that any way you want and then save it. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about the data view, is that you can really shrink this down to give you a nice little snapshot of what you look at on a daily basis. Not everybody needs the chart for the weights, and not everybody needs the weights and things like that. So so you can move those things around. But
this is a lot more of the power users, or the users with,
exactly,
30 to 50 plus animals are going to be using this.
Exactly. And then you have different views. So the grid view is the standard view that would be for a lot of people who don't have a ton of animals. Everything's presented a little bit nicer, big squares, but functionally it's exactly the same. The data is still presented in how it does on the other one. List view is a smaller list view, very simple. We're going to go back here to a condensed view. So that one, that was one of our early views that we had, and we just left it in. It's not one that, the reason we leave them in is because some people may just love this one, just based on how it looks. It's very simple and it's very compact, but it doesn't have all the features that the data view has. This deuce view is more of a mobile view, because when this shrinks, it does look much better than what it looks like now. Showcase view is also very popular because this is the one main image shown, and then I don't have a lot in there. Yeah, there you go. So it's just basically the image view, good for probably somebody that doesn't have a ton of animals. Small grid view, similar to the grid view, just more animals on it. And then back to the data view. So we'll work in the data view as I go to show a little bit more here. So with the data view, all the main buttons are down the side here. When you're doing an activity, everywhere that you can do an activity, we use the lightning bolt, and that's throughout the whole system. So anytime you have to hit an activity, you would do the lightning bolt. Up comes the record activity panel. You can also do it in bulk mode. So you could go and you select your bulk mode, and then you simply click the ones that you want. You could also select all. You could select none, whatever you really want. And then you could bulk edit. You can do activities. You can print. This bar here that comes up when you do the bulk is currently pinned to the top for me. And that's just where I like it. But you can put it down to the bottom by clicking these buttons on the left-hand side, or put it kind of in the center, which is floating at the top of the panel there. And then you can just hit done to get rid of it. But you can bulk activity, you can bulk print, you can bulk change status, group, pretty much anything, add tags, export, whatever you want to do with that. So the bulk system is pretty intuitive with that. We also have filtering, and a couple ways to do filtering. This filter button opens the side panel filter, which has most of the things that you're going to want to filter for. But we've also added something called the Filter Studio, which pops out at the side. And the Filter Studio is going to be a little bit, we're going to work on that more as time goes on and add more features specifically to this. The filter sidebar is a quick filter sidebar. Some people leave that on all the time. But with this filter here, it's going to be more robust. You're going to be able to build a lot more different ways to filter. And anytime you do so, you can, things like select male, and it's in an ARS rack. And I can apply the filter, or I can also save that view. And now when I save that, I can say male ARS racks, and I can hit save view. And then that pops up here, right? So this button here is now my quick to get all those animals. So if I hit that, all the animals that are male and in the ARS rack are going to show. So I have a for sale button, I have a brumating button, I have a needs feeding button, I have a holdback button, and I have my view. I'm not entirely sure what that one is. But either way, you can make these quick buttons up here. If you want to edit, get rid of, just click that button and start minusing them out, and away they go. Check mark, and they're back there. So the Filter Studio is going to be one of those places that you're really going to want to focus on using to get the most out of if you have a lot of animals. I think is the way to go with that one.
Especially if you're just doing, searches all the time. Yeah, like your for sale. Mine,
right.
Like all pythons for sale, all for sale, not for sale.
Exactly. And it's kind of limitless, right? You can do males for sale, females for sale, males under 100 or 1,000 grams for sale. So you can do all those type of filtering and set up quick buttons to get to those things. Also in the kind of this panel here is one other thing that is kind of a feature that, we also add the search animals. Now, we didn't have that initially, but there was some questions about, hey, where'd that little filter thing or the quick search go? You can actually turn that on and off in the settings. So this little gear here will always contain the settings that pertain to the bottom of this panel here from this gear down. So if we click on that, there's a couple, the way the list is viewed is either full width or padded. And this is kind of, if you have a nice wide screen, you might want it padded a little bit on the side. So it just brings it in a little bit instead of pushing it all the way to the edges, just kind of quality of life kind of things. Quick search box, that's that box that I was showing up there that you can turn on or off. So if I turn it off, it is no longer there. And we also have an alpha jump bar that you can turn on. And that just allows you to jump down to animals based on the first letter of the name, I believe. And then that will pop down to where you're going. Okay. So you can have that. And anytime if you have a suggestion on ways that you would like to filter and search and things like that, open a ticket, because it's not difficult for us to add optional things like that. And if you want to use that, we're happy to add it, because other people are for sure going to want to use it also. So that's, actually the last little thing on here. Oh, this button here, people miss this one on the Animal Workspace. The little chevron down here gives you a quick little KPI on what is in this, what is in your animals. I've got 95 animals, 94 are active, 1 on hold. And it's just a quick view of what's going on. But most people have it closed up just to get rid of a little bit of real estate there. And then the button right here is the split screen that people don't really know about. If you click that, you can open up on the right-hand side a different workspace than the one you're currently working on. So if you want to work in your commerce on the right-hand side, you can go ahead and do that at the same time that you've got your Animal Workspace open. And so every panel, most workspaces have that button also.
So that secondary panel there, when I move it into the split view, does that move that into like the cell phone view of the workspace? That's to the left.
Yeah. So it does. Side, Yeah. So it is a smaller view. It is not the mobile view though. This would be more of a tablet view, right?
So it's still going to keep all the desktop views and stuff. Okay.
Exactly. Even when you click on an animal, it actually comes up on the whole screen, right? It fills the whole screen.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Because you want the whole screen view on an animal view, I think. So you can close that back off, and that right-hand panel is gone now. It's just a way for like I have a really large wide screen. It's nice to split. It's like I've got 2 laptops running side by side on my screen, right? That I can work on independently and at the same time. So that's basically everything from that bar down, and the add button, of course. So this is where you add an animal. Just add, and you can select your species. Some people have come in and said, hey, I don't have any species, or I don't have many species. This list here for your animal types needs to be set up. And the way you can do that a couple different ways. You can go to your utilities, and you can go to your species manager with this button right here. Or you can simply go and hit that button there and manage species, and up comes that manage species panel. So we don't want to have those lists populated with 3,300 different species for you to search through. So what we've done is we made it so just like in Classic, you turn on species or you turn off species. You can also edit, incubation times and all that kind of stuff. So we'll go ahead and if you want to go to your browse catalog, if I want to add aardvarks, I can go ahead and add aardvarks to my species. And then when I go ahead and add an animal, I can then select my aardvark and start adding the aardvark to the system. Okay,
so all of these other species of animals are currently turned off. It's whenever they come from Next or from Classic to Next, it's going to be they're going to be looking at the exact same animals they already had turned on in Classic. They're not going to be looking at all these thousands of animals unless they go and turn them on.
Right.
And in Classic, they could still have those animals. You would just go at them manually yourself. All we're doing is saving them the legwork from adding them manually. So there is no difference here between Classic and Next, except we've
No.
taken the step out and made it easy for you to, access all those lists of animals.
Right.
And I was specifically addressing because this lady was talking about this comment here, and she doesn't want her grandson to have access to these new species and stuff. He's not going to immediately have any more access to them than he would have had in Classic.
Correct.
Okay, that's what.
Yeah, and the other thing is when we onboard too, we actually have a much better onboarding system for Next, where you can select the species you work for as you're onboarding, and then they are automatically set up when you go to add your first animal. It'll actually help you add your first animal on that too. But as far as the adding of the animals, very simple. All you really need, the only thing required, I believe, would be animal ID. Some of these things are required, but they have decent defaults in them already that you shouldn't normally change. But you can put locations in here, the status of the animal, measurements, notes, and things like that. And we're also moving towards, if you're working with other species, they have other requirements. So if I take, for instance, an Eclectus parrot this time, and I scroll down, it has now opened up I don't have it on this account, unfortunately. It will open up the requirements for keeping birds now. So that is now part of that animal. So different species have different fields available to those animals. And you can also make custom fields, but I think that's going to be a different podcast where we work on a lot of the customization and things like that. Because if there's something you want specifically in that animal to record, like microchip or something like that, you can add a custom field, custom drop down, and pretty much anything, radio buttons, whatever you want. And then that becomes part of your animal record. And you can use that throughout. So now that I've gone over basically the workspace and how that looks and how to use the workspace, we'll take a look at the buttons up top here. Part of the biggest thing that Husbandry Pro does is it records activities, whether it be breeding activities or feeding activities or any type of activity that you want to save to that animal. So this button here actually gives you the activity panel, shows you what you've been doing on the first page. On the second page, it gives you a list of, or on the second tab, it gives you a list of all the activities that have happened recently. You can configure your built-in activities on the configure. The other thing that you can do on the configuring of activities is this is where you can make custom activities, and you can also make nested activities. And a custom activity will be whatever you want. A nest, like we have a customer that has oil change as one of his custom activities because he has his car in there. Nested activities allows you to build complex activities that do more than one thing, because if you always feed and water at the same time and do a spot clean at the same time, you can nest those into one activity, name it whatever you want, and click it, and all those activities get saved independently to that animal. So it's really
okay. So like if I spot clean and part of my spot cleaning is a water change and like these other different activities, it can record like, okay, I did a full spot clean that did all of these activities. Or if I do a deep clean, it's XYZ plus this. I know I've disinfected, and I can set up custom activities even if we don't have them and add those to the flow.
Correct. So you could let's say every time that you look at certain animals, you also do a health check, right? You can create a health check one, right? Add that to your spot clean because you're taking the animal out, you're looking at it, you're making sure it looks good. It's a health check. Back in he goes, right? But you've looked at the water when you're there, right? You may have changed the water when you're there. You've spot cleaned, you've whatever. So yeah, you can have an activity built around doing all of those things at one time, right? And it's also really nice in, rack views and things like that. When you build those activities, when you take care of your rack, you're not necessarily just doing a feed, right? You're doing a lot of things. So you can select your rack, hit that one, and every animal in that rack has every activity that you've built into that nested activity. And that's another thing that we're building still. We are continuing upgrading that feature because we find what we're trying to do is save everybody time, save everybody clicks, save everybody whatever we can save them. So And that's what that's for. And then we have the final thing that this is a new feature that we just added, which is an import export. We didn't have import before. So you couldn't take your spreadsheet of 1,000 feedings for the last 10 years on your animal and import it. You can now. And it's a really great system that really can walk you through when you do the import, matching up animals to the activities that are in your spreadsheet in an intelligent manner. So it's give that a try if you have old records that you want to start getting in. And we've also created, just before everybody goes, oh, that's scary to do, every time you do an import into Husbandry Pro, you do have 10 minutes to undo that import with a button, right? So if you do this big import and it wasn't just right, it didn't get everything you wanted, you just go back to the import page and undo it, and then they're all undone. So we just added.
That's such a nice ad, because like, man, I tell you, on Classic, I've screwed up with my import a few times and had to go through and like manually delete a bunch of animals and stuff that I've added.
Exactly. And then customize activities is there also. And then these are just refresh on every page. So there's your activity panel. Pop over to the feeding panel. Same kind of thing, right? First tab is an overview. Also, these tabs kind of remember where you were last time you come in. So it's not something that, I was in management last time, so I had left and I came back and it's still on management, because we find that people are using the system in a certain way. We don't need you to click 2 buttons because we know you always just go to that one spot. And it's intelligently learning how you're using things as you're using it. And we'll leverage that later on with AI and things like that to make it even more intelligent.
Is the pick list, is that my pull list that I need every day, or whenever I go to feed? Yeah,
so we'll hit the overview first. The overview shows basically what's been happening with the feedings, just kind of a quick little, hey, what's going on. To feed your animals, you would go into this panel here, and it's just another way to feed. We just found that in Classic, people didn't always select their animals and feed. They sometimes went to the feeding, because there's a feeding one in there too, select their feedings and do the feedings. And again, super intelligent. You can, it's broken down by species. You can do multi-selects. You can have it in a list view or a card view. Settings can show refuse button or show skip button. So what I've got is do now. I can take all these, I can select them all, and then you can change this real quick here now too, is which feeder this animal is on, how many quantity, and then you can hit refused or skip, or I can do them all and hit feed, and when it use the animal's default feed on them, or you can change it to everybody got a medium rat this time, and then confirm, and they're all gone. So all my
so we used to use, like, I would use quick activities for that section. Like, this would be the same. The only difference is, instead of waiting for a new screen to pop up for me to go through and change the feeding item, it's right there all on that same screen. So
exactly, you never leave this
thing, slightly different flow. I think it's like the exact same button clicks and everything.
Right, exactly. And that's what we're trying to do. So yes, pick list, same thing, right? It's telling me how many do I have in the next 7 days? How many do I have tomorrow, today? What do I need? Next 30 days. You can do a custom whatever.
Okay, so today is like, that's everyone who needs food today.
Today, exactly. And now that I've fed a bunch, no longer required, right? And then you can print it, and you can also do the scope too, which we don't have in Classic, right? So scope can be either the whole room, could be an ARS, test, whatever. So it can be everything or targeted, right? So you can check, you can add different scopes too. And then you would apply. Go ahead.
That would be like amazing for like big level facilities and stuff, right? Yeah, zoological. Like, oh, we fed the freaking hominid group today. I'm just making shit up. Exactly. We fed this group, and then so you can go by this group, that group, record for the different keepers and stuff for your big dude. That's some next level stuff.
Well, and as time goes on, so the other thing that we are building is we do have, if you are on a breeder level and above, you can have additional users. We're allowing the manager of that to specify which scopes that the users are allowed to do, right? So you may end up saying, okay, here are all the different scopes, and one would be ARS racks. He may not have access to these other ones, so nobody's adding data where they shouldn't be adding data, right?
Why is the monkey guy feeding the tigers? What's he trying to hide from me?
We don't want that, right? So yeah, exactly. So and that's and we're building towards that. And again, that's being built for zoos and institutions, but there's no reason why, I want my wife just to be able to view stuff, right? I want her to be able to check health records on some animals, but I certainly don't want her feeding all the ball pythons by accident, right? So you're going to be able to manage that as time goes on more and more.
That would help this specific lady right here. She's real concerned with what her son has access to and stuff. She can set up an account as the master and then give him only the access that she wants to. Like she could lock him down where he can't put in new species types and stuff, right?
And he can't go to different workspaces, right? And he can't do a lot of different things, right? So yes, absolutely. And that's kind of, and it is designed specifically for that too, because we do want kids starting with really good habits, and record keeping is really good habit, right? At the end of the day. So the more people we can get on it, and again, if you say, hey, this is what I don't want my son to be able to do, can you make it do that? Just tell us. We'll get that done, because it is a feature and it is something that we are adding to the system because we want it really dialed in for that, right? And it's not just for kids, it's also for different employees and things like that. So it all works together the same way. And management this is where you add your feeder items. You can make feeder groups. A lot of people with, Eastern indigos will feed, multiple feed items at one time. So you can make feed groups. And then this is where you quickly assign different feed items to an animal. You can also do this in the animal. You can also do this in a bulk method in the animal list. Again, multiple ways to
I like that one. Just right there, it says needs feed item, because like that's what gets me is like I think they're all set up, and then I'm making my feeding list, and it's like, I noticed 2 weeks in a row I haven't fed this animal. Why not? Because I never set a default feeder item on it, and I'm like, man, if there was some way I would know, and that right there is that's
right. Well, nice. when we do bulk, right? When we do bulk feedings, it does that. It says at the top of the bulk feeding, X number of animals do not have feed items. Let's do that now. Right. Or
I didn't catch that. That's nice.
Yeah. Or select this feeder for them. Right. One or the other. And then you can either update them all now, or you can, and then it'll add it to the animals. You don't have to worry about it next time. Or you can just skip it and just have it feed whatever feed item you select. So one or the other. So there's multiple ways to do it again. In the bulk feed. And we try to make those steps now internally, which we weren't as easily able to do in Classic. We try to make them part of the flow so that you get them taken care of early instead of waiting till later and having your problem where you've missed, the recording the food item. You're not going to miss recording the feeding, but you are going to miss recording the feed item, or you're going to get an error in the old platform, one or the other. So that's basically the feed station. Oh, and any of these panels that pop up, you don't need to go over and hit this little X at the bottom. Anywhere on the top bar is fine. Just for, fat thumbs and things like that. Health records, next panel. Again, the today on this, we're going to add a KPI to this, but right now it's a today, which is, are there any shots needed? Whatever you set up in your health records to do and manage will be on this page. When you go to your health records. And again, push notifications will happen. Press your button, you're going to come to your health panel. If we go to this is the overview here. Basically what's going on with my animals with respect to health, and then by each animal. So what you do is you can either add an entry for a medical record. So here's the entry. So I'm going to add a vet visit. I'm going to say what happened, upload any documentation, save that. It is now in the animal. But you can also start a plan for an animal. So a health care plan. So if you have to give injections, you have to give whatever, you will then come and pick your animal. And it can be multiple animals. The title will be RI care, active monitoring, start date today, expected end date. I'm not going to put one. Description, what are you doing? And then you can start adding timeline, protocols, and instructions to it. So you go ahead and add instructions. You're going to give a vaccine. How often are you going to do it? So you're going to set up the care instructions within your health plan right here and go ahead and build out this health plan. And you can also save it as a reusable protocol later on. So if one of your protocols is, you have green tree pythons, every wild caught green tree python that comes into my collection is quarantined for X number of days. It requires this, requires flagell this often. It requires, a fecal after 15 days. You can build that all into a care plan and then pop that care plan on any animal that comes in with a click. And then that shows up in your full medical system for, hey, so that'll show up in your today's, do your fecal today or give your whatever today or whatever really you're doing in that care plan will pop up on your health record plan. So it's a fairly robust system. And if it is missing anything, please, again, fire us off a message and we'll get it added to that. As people use it, I'm sure we're going to find things that we can just be a little bit better on. So that's the healthcare system. Next, should I go on to the next one, Zach?
We're running a little long in time. We got a little more. So we could do like maybe a quicker view through some of them. There's a lot in this thing, and I want to point out that, like your average user is going to live in this animal workspace, especially if you're not breeding and you're just doing your husbandry and stuff. There's a lot of stuff. You can do pretty much everything you need to do in here.
Right. And now I'm going to blast through the other panels. So monitoring, we removed follicle measurements from the system. And we added monitoring. It's breeding monitoring. So basically, you do have follicles here, egg, pregnancy, fetal, uterine, and testicular. So it's all basically monitoring around breeding, measurements that you would take and things like that. They'll be recorded to the animal. Genetic system. This is a minified version of our full genetic system or our genetic workspace. So you don't necessarily want to live in here unless genetics aren't that important to you. You'd want to start using the genetics workspace. But they do cross anyway, so the data will be available in both. Your sales, basically a minimized sales system instead of the commerce workspace for somebody that isn't that in depth into doing their whole full commerce on it. Reports, all the different types of reports that you could possibly want. Inventory, health and wellness, feeding, breeding, genetics, sales and handling, analytics. And this is all going to tie back into our new document system, a document workspace that's coming out, where you can really, really edit all these kind of things too. Animal transfer, simple. Somebody else uses Husbandry Pro. You can transfer all the animal data out to them. Again, if you're getting an animal from somebody, hopefully you're buying it from somebody that keeps really good records. If it's from Husbandry Pro, they can send you that record. You put it in here. The animal comes over, all the data is there. The data they choose to send you, same with the data you choose to send them. Put their email in and send it off to them. Or send them a link. You can also just copy and paste a link to them.
This is one, it's actually been asked to me. It's been brought up a couple times in the past, but it got brought up to me again at Daytona. Have we thought about or we considered any way for a person to request an animal's information? Like, I bought this animal. I know they have Husbandry Pro. Some way in the system I can request it, or
to me, it's send them an email, right?
See, I asked specifically because I've gone to multiple breeders who use Husbandry Pro, and I'm like, hey, can you transfer me this animal? And it's crickets. They don't want to do it, and I can't make them do it. But if there was just a little click pop-up box, they would probably click the box.
So whenever we do these kind of things, contact, right? We always want to do things in a non-solicitational method, right? If they don't want you emailing them about the health record, we don't want Husbandry Pro to be the one emailing them, right? Spammy, right? Spam, and it's going to hurt our emailing, right? So we might not allow that. Transfer out to somebody that has requested it. You've got permission, right? Requesting the information from them, you don't have permission to email them through the system, right? So that's something we probably won't get into. We ask people not to spam. We'll see what happens. Right? So it may be added later. It may be something that if it's a big enough feature and we can protect ourselves enough from spam. Analytics, full analytics system, pop it up, population, breeding, feeding, health, financial, genetics, and growth. Kind of shows you what the most, I have so much pastel. It shows you the genes that you have. And
we need to talk about that, Robert.
Yeah, I know, right? Hey, my founding member is 25 years old though, or 22 years old. tags, basically tagging system. Add tags, tag them to animals, allows you to search faster, group faster, do all sorts of things faster. And utilities, it is also available on all workspaces. Pops out this sidebar that has a lot of the stuff that you're going to want to use on kind of a daily basis.
Yeah, we'll probably give utilities its own little video.
yeah, we'll have to go through that on its own. And the help system, when you pop up the help system, it will tell you, or it will give you suggestions from the panel you're working on. AI, you can type in there. It will search the documents, kind of give you the answers. Videos are coming. We've just started making those. If you're on our YouTube video, those little shorts that are popping up now will be part of the help system, where you'll go and watch a video quickly on any part of the system. We will probably cut this video that we're doing right now up into smaller chunks and throw them into the help system. So that's coming in the coming weeks too. And again, our development has been such that we've been really working on features and design and everything else for the last 2 years on Next. And now we're working on polishing and help desk or help files and all that kind of stuff, and really good new features. And that's the workspace. How was that, Zach? In time?
That was pretty good. Like, okay. We're on time. We got 10 or so minutes, or however long we need to go through questions. I've got some saved up. And we'll start popping through some questions here that
beautiful
got saved up.
I'm going light mode.
Maybe I don't understand this question, so I'm saving this one for you.
I don't understand why they don't mono repo or create an actual app and desktop version. We do have an app and a desktop version, so I'm not entirely sure what that question is. If you want to elaborate on that or fire me off an email.
Yeah. I didn't know what mono repo meant.
Single repo. Yeah. Okay. You guys going to Tinley? We are going to be in Tinley.
Yes, we'll be in Tinley. So we will see everyone there. Our next show is the Canadian Reptile Breeders Expo. So we will see everybody in CRBE. Was that next month, Robert?
CRBE is September 19th, 20th, I think. Yep.
Yeah, that is next month. About 3 weeks from now. So if you're coming to Canada, or if you're in Canada, come on out and stop by and see us, and we'll be doing live demos of Next. And while we're there, it'll be a good time.
Pull their information feeding shed pricing. Yes, there is. So you can do that through a number of different ways. In the reporting is probably the best way to do it. But yeah, play in the reporting a little bit, because that's kind of what you're looking for. Feedings can be done in the feeding section. But you can select any type of report and filter it in pretty much any way, because the reporting, when you bring it up, you can do activity log and add multiple animals to it here. That's a single animal. Sorry. If we go to one of these, I'm not sure which one's going to come up for me in multiple. Oh, that's individual animals. This would be collection, status life cycles, collection overview, generate report on that. So you can also schedule all your reports to email to you. So I'm not sure if people understand that. You can have up to 5 reports being run on a daily basis that get emailed to you through that system. But take a look at any of these, because you can select and search and tag multiple animals in some of them. Some of them are single animal, but a lot of them are multiple. Any other questions?
And you can do custom. And we got one more. And we can do custom reports there too, right?
Right. And
what we're looking for. That's definitely like where I would recommend just play around in there. You can get what you need. For sure.
Hence mono repos. It's confusing with the Next app and classic. Thinking it was 2 things. Oh, care plan example. Yes, exactly. Exactly, Ken. It's one of those things that if you always have a certain procedure when you do something like that, building nested activities will then save each of those as single activities to the animal, allowing you then to create reports based on what each of those individuals was, not the nest, if that makes sense. I hope it does.
Okay, so I think we got to get cleared up on that.
So basically, Husbandry Pro Classic uses the same database that Next does. Next surfaces far more information than Classic does. Next intelligently works with that information better than Classic does also. And Next will always be on the forefront of our development. Classic will add features that are required as we grow, if that makes sense.
I like Ken's idea here, because like it's an extra step we have to do to go in and transfer. If we can just, since we're doing the sell anyways, and we're already getting their information at that time, the email address is part of it. If we could just toggle a switch, I would think that's something we can build in, right?
It's part of it now. Yeah. If you use the full invoicing and show system, you can add the animal to it or the file to it.
Okay. So we need to be going through the show system to get to that.
Yeah, because that's really we could probably add it to any invoice. Yeah. Can open a ticket. We'll get, you know what? As soon as you see the document workspace open up, fire me off an email. Okay. And then, or open a ticket, and then we will surface those reports into the invoice. You can put any report that you want. You can create your custom report and put any of those into the email. That's probably the most effective way to do that.
Nice. Yeah. Cause that would definitely help. Cause it's like, I have to remember to do it. I'm always telling people, I'm like message me after the show on Monday. Cause it's like, sure enough, they're going to message me 30 minutes later when I'm super busy at the show. And I'm like, and it gets buried in stuff, and then I forget to ever send it to them until if they don't follow up, they don't get it.
Yeah, and that was part of the request that I had at the show, right? Is that document that goes with an animal needs to be more, or she wanted to be more robust, which is exactly what the document workstation is doing, or workspace is doing. Works very late, but is there a way? Well, yeah. So you can do that with, there's a couple ways to do that. You can build your own API.
Right?
Yeah. You can use our API and surface it that way. If you have WordPress, we will update our WordPress app for Next, probably within the next month or so. So you'll be able to completely pull your animals and data and everything else into WordPress. We had stopped development on the Shopify app because Shopify doesn't allow live sales. Until that changes, we won't look at that, but you have the API if you want to build against that. If you really need something like an iframe or something like that, we could definitely build that as long as there's enough requests for it. And then you can just drop a little bit of code into your website and it'll show. Iframes aren't the best for SEO and all that kind of stuff, so we kind of don't always do it, but it's available if you need that.
If you understood what he's talking about, then reach out to us. We'll take care of you.
And you know what? And I do this sometimes.
This is why it's good for you to go to the shows.
Yeah. If you have a specific question about something I have said, robert@husbandry.pro is my email address. Fire me off an email. I'll do my best to explain a little bit better. I understand sometimes I talk in tongue.
Yes. Well, and it's like, it's one thing when someone comes up to me and they're like, "Oh, I'm doing this on the Animal Workspace and I have this thing. It's it's funky and stuff." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I can clock that." I'm like, "Okay, I can come back and talk to that." We were at an expo and this guy and somebody like Tripping Balls comes up and they're like, "I want to surface this to my website via a connection." I'm like, "Robert."
Exactly. And you know what? And opening a ticket doesn't always get to me, unfortunately. Fortunately for me, but usually if it's not a very in-depth question, it won't. I will never even see it. So if there's something specific, yeah, definitely fire me off an email. I'm happy to answer any emails.
We got a little bit of time if you want to go over
Sure.
Pop that up real quick.
Yeah, the animal transfer feature. If I have an animal that I want to send over to Zac, I can click to select animals. So I can click multiple animals if I want. I'm going to send all those animals. You can sort by male, female, species, rack, tag, whatever you want to do. I'm going to confirm the selection. So now I'm going to send all these animals over to Zac, and then I can tell that what I want to send. I want to send the animal type. I want to send the sex, genetics, date of birth, dam genetics, date acquired, sire genetics. So those two are super important, I think. And then default feeder item. So I'll send all those things to him. I can turn on all the activities if I want. And I can send the photos. I can send where it came from, animal descriptor. So I'm going to send all that stuff. But once I turn on this activities, I can then also select which activities go, right? Because you may not want to send the fact that you force feed that thing well, you probably should. But you can select whatever activities you would want to send. You don't want to send create invoice. So you're going to want to, cleanings or certain feedings or whatever. You don't have to select any. You don't have to set any.
Okay,
right?
So if I don't select any, it's just going to automatically send everything, or everything I've selected in that over there to the left.
Well, right here, if you turn on activities, it's still not going to select anything yet. You still have to actively select something.
Okay,
right?
So we don't have a select all button yet that we need to get in there.
No, because I feel that well, maybe not. Maybe people are only recording 1 or 2 activities, so they would want everything to go.
We had it in Classic, so it's like basically it was kind of the same way. I'd go in here and I select what I want to transfer, but then I have to go in and click this activity, click this activity, click this activity. I'm like, I wanted to transfer all the activities.
Well, yeah, we can do that. Just remind me to put a surface all, select all. That's not a problem. Okay. And then you put in, the email address, and then we'll go ahead and you can archive after transfer. So it doesn't. So once I hit send, it sends the email to the user, and they get a code, and then they would come back here and click receive and type in the transfer code, and then they hit next step, and it shows all those animals that are available to come into the system, and it shows all the information that you can bring into the system, and then you can turn stuff on or off. Like you may not, want to bring in all the activities. You may not want to bring in certain information that they've sent you, so you can turn those off, and then a full history of your transfers. You can also archive the animal after transfer. So after the user actually receives the animal, you automatically archive that animal, so it's no longer in your system. Or you could do it manually before that time.
Is that derived off of me clicking the send button or them clicking the receive button? Like
that's them receiving the animal.
Okay, so if I send it, it doesn't archive until they actually go do their part.
Correct, because we know how email works, and we know email doesn't always arrive properly, or goes into spam. So you need to be able to repeat that transfer. And if we automatically transferred it on send, if we archived them on send, you would not have those animals available on the list, right? Good. So it's kind of a manual process or a they import process. Okay. So I hope that that covered the whole transfer animal thing. And it's really, we've seen people do full collections with it, transfer their full collection over to somebody else.
Oh yeah, I mean, me and my partner, we transfer anywhere from 10 to 30 animals, sometimes 60 animals, every couple of weekends back and forth to each other.
It's a lot of animals.
Yes. That's why I've been like looking at the transfer stuff. Like, what are the ways we can do this? Can I make Jesse do more of the work?
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? Yes. I think this is probably the last question. Well, this is the last question I've got right now.
So actually, I'll run through 4 things that are coming out in the next month.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not in at too many shows or on the road too much. We have the document workspace, which is basically build any document based off 100 documents that we have in the system. You can add and remove and change the space and orientation and everything, assign those to different places or use them as custom documents. That's coming out. I have 2 users currently testing the Rattery right now, which is a Rattery system that allows you to breed rodents, and that will flow into your inventory if you so choose, or it's a standalone, does not affect anything else outside of that, has its own task system, has its own everything system. We also have a isopod system in the same manner. You put that in, or you turn that on, and if you have isopods, and if you want to be one of those early people going, Rob, this is dumb, or Rob, this is fantastic, send me an email, robert@husbandry.pro, and we can chat a little bit about that. So the isopod system is a step behind the Rattery system. They're very similar. We do need people
to go ahead and volunteer if they're thinking
about it. Go
ahead and put your email in.
I don't want volunteers. I want somebody who really understands what isopods require and, want to have some active dialogue with me is, pop on video and have some chats and give me some shit for what's not working properly. So the isopod system is coming, and it's exactly the same. It's going to be standalone workspace. And we also have a fish room coming. And the fish room is exactly the same thing too. It's just called fish room. It's called the fish room workspace. And it works more like aquariums and groups and single animals and things like that. But it does not get those animals, like the rattery animals and the isopod animals, don't get mixed into your full animal list, right? Because we don't consider those necessarily part of your grouping that you would normally work with on a day-to-day basis. They're ancillary animals, and they have their own workspace, their own tables, their own everything. At some point, we may even trim some things down and just have those as the system when you log in, if you so choose. People go ahead.
The big thing on that's going to be, because like the animal system is for individual animals mostly, right?
Right.
And like, your isopods, you've got a colony of these things that could be hundreds or thousands. And the
Right.
same thing with your rats. You wouldn't want to record every single rat as an individual animal.
But in all those cases, you can. In all those cases, you can, though, right? If you bring in that amazing one isopod that nobody else has, right, you may want that individual recorded, right? So you have the ability in the rodents or in the rattery also to have individuals or to have groups, right? And racks and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's very similar. It's almost like our full system condensed and focused on those type of animals. I think it is probably the best way to do it. The API, that was it. And I think those are the big things that are sitting on my list right now, I think. And the Reptile ads integration.
Oh, yes.
Is released now.
It's released now.
I believe it pushed today.
Yes.
So if you sell animals, you would basically go to your import export. And we have, no, it's not. Where have we got it, Zach?
Integrations.
Oh, it's in integrations. That's right. It's a full integration. It's not just an import export. For those who don't know, integrations are one of these buttons down here. So if you go to integrations right here, these are your sensor integrations, but we now have the Reptile ads integration. And the beautiful thing about Reptile ads integration is if you do not have a Reptile ads account as of yet, and you are on a subscription with Husbandry Pro, you are able to basically, with a couple of buttons, create a Reptile ads account, push your animals to Reptile ads. They will then be sitting in Reptile ads in draft mode. You can then visit Reptile ads, just finish a few things on your profile there in order to start selling immediately on there. And then you have this integration that, is a beautiful connection between the two, where there is a limited amount of work that you have to do to get your animals posted on Reptile ads. So it's a great connection. We will be extending that to be a full integration for users that have accounts at the highest level on both platforms, where you won't have to actually go and manage at Reptile ads. Messages and everything will come in to Husbandry Pro, and you'll be able to manage it all and answer messages from there. So we're taking that to a deeper integration, if you will.
Yeah, that'll be nice. So like wherever you want to manage it from on this one, if you want to push them from this side, all you have to do is go over there and move them over to for sale. If you're commercial level for both of them, once we get the new one out, which will be done soon, all you'll have to do is connect them once the first time, and then everything's done.
Exactly.
And so that'll be super beneficial for the people who have large amount of listings.
Yeah, and you know what, this just goes back to what we're doing. We're kind of future proofing, right? We're building the API, and we're allowing integrations and connections and things like that. And if there's other companies that want to do deep integrations, again, fire us off an email. Get in touch with Zac at husbandry.pro. He can deal with you on the business end of things, and then when it's ready to be kicked over to the geeks, it'll come my way for integrations that way.
Yeah, because I mean, we're big on working with people in the hobby here and plugging stuff in. Like I had some people talking about integrations when we were in Daytona. You remember some sensor monitoring stuff.
Yep.
And we're happy to work with everybody in the hobby. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. If you're out there and you're a business owner and you think you've got something that's beneficial to people and the care of their animals and reptiles, reach out to us and we'll be happy to talk to you and see if it's a good fit.
Absolutely. Okay.
So anything else? I mean, we'll got to schedule the next one for 2 weeks. We'll pick a new workspace to go over in 2 weeks time and talk about where we're at again. Do you already know what you want to go over, or we'll figure it out and let everybody know?
Put it down in the comments. Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Put it down in the comments. We'll go over it, and we can go over each of the workspaces in depth, because we actually didn't even get through everything or I talked too much, one or the other.
The animal workspace, the fact that you can live there, there's so many, like, right. What do we call those, like, sub workspaces? You're in the workspace and you go into it.
Just panels. We just call them panels. When the panels come up, right? Because you're in the workspace, you live in the workspace, and that's kind of
work panels. There's all the work panels in the workspace.
And the workspace and the workspace panels, right? And those panels actually are invoked from other places too, right? So like if you're somewhere else in another workspace and you want to view your animal, well, that panel from the animal workspace is coming up. So we only create one panel, and that panel is how you look at your animal. And all workspaces are going to work exactly the same way. Once you're in a panel, or once you're in a workspace, the panels move. Everything else stays put. When you leave that workspace, you're in a different workspace, but they are all integrated. They all talk to each other. Magic happens behind the scenes.
Yeah. So it's a lot. If there's something specifically you want to see us go over, just drop it in the comments. We'll check that. Probably by next week, we'll have an announcement on what we're actually going to discuss, and we'll get a date scheduled and everything. We're planning to keep it on this Thursdays at this 7:00 Eastern time slot, unless we get pushed back on that. But anyways, it was good being here. It was good talking to everybody. Until next time.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time.
And then we sit here awkwardly waiting on this.
I don't know how to do that.